Mr. Speaker, thank you very much indeed. It's a very short time, so I will do my level best to get the 3 points across. I just want to say something about the procedure today. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't be sitting here if it was not in order for these proceedings. But there are different ways to be in order. And the reality of bundling together all of these things into one motion, an amendment put forward by the government, means that, of course, there's no way we will get to vote on the Lord's amendment on genocide. I simply make that fact. It reminds me of this little dispute. It's a little bit like Handforth Parish Council, and it's always a good idea to read the standing orders. I read them, and it told me what happened. The government deliberately has blocked this. I'm sorry, that's what it is. No point of order on that one. That is the reality. So I say to my honourable friends, I've been here long enough, and I simply say I think this is beneath them. And I wish they had thought again, and they don't try this one again. Can I say to my honourable friend, by the way, I respect him, he knows that enormously, just to pick up on a few points that he made as I laid an amendment down on this. Number one, can I just say he extols the virtues of the government amendment, and he attacks the idea during the course of it, as part of his intervention, that the courts cannot do this because it would impinge on our position as a parliament. Yet, literally yesterday, an answer to a parliamentary question to the Foreign Office, whether genocide was a matter for the courts, the Foreign Office said, and I quote, "It is the policy of the UK government that any judgment on whether genocide has occurred is a matter for competent courts rather than governments or other non-judicial bodies." Can I ask him, what is a select committee? Is it a judicial body or a non-judicial body? In which case, the amendment puts the power into the hands of a non-judicial body. What are we doing? We are running in circles around this just to avoid the reality. And my point is that on the amendment he talks about, it's also that we've been a little insulting about judges. Now, I have my own differences with judges, but I just remind the House that when we need an impartial taking of evidence and a judgment, we turn not to select committees on this. Let's take, for example, Savile, Grenfell, Hillsborough, or any of the other cases. We turn to a judge. Why do we do that? One, because we assume they're impartial. Two, because they are trained to take evidence and to deal with evidence. We are not here. We are partial. That's why we're here. We are select committees and we have prejudices, and that's the point. I will indeed.
I'm grateful. He makes a very important point. Why does he think that the Minister claims that a select committee, which already has the power to investigate all sorts of things in this House, is in some way superior to a judicial determination by a court? And only this week, Sir Geoffrey Nice, a distinguished QC who prosecuted Milosevic, said that under the 2001 International Criminal Court Act, UK courts are competent to prosecute the offence of genocide. It's there. We should be using it, not dismissing it, surely.
Which is why, in the amendment I put forward, and I say gently to my honourable friend, I deliberately locked in the idea if the government wants to sift this by looking at select committees first, that's fine. But I think they should have the power to refer it to a court if the evidence is overwhelming and they want that final impartial judgment. But he didn't mention that at all. So I want to come back to the Amendment 3B. You know, we bent over backwards to answer every single question the government laid on the last time we debated this. The courts can't strike down trade deals in this amendment anymore. Government sets the terms of the referral. Government also sets the level of evidence required for it to pass the barrier. All of that is handed back to ministers. All the court will do is decide on genocide, and then it's up to ministers and Parliament to decide what to do. We don't even tell ministers in this amendment that they should do anything other than at some point come back and ask Parliament. That seems to me completely reasonable and puts the power in the hands of Parliament. So I'm very sad today, and a very limited amount of time, that the government has chosen not to allow us to vote on that amendment. I'm not voting on my amendment either, and I am opposed to the government's amendment because I think it will lead to my honourable friend was asking much more vexatious complaint and all sorts of human rights stuff piling through. Today should have been a chance to stand tall, to send a signal to those who are without hope all over the world, whether it's the Uyghurs or the Rohingya. Instead of a beacon of light and hope, today what we have done is go into the dark corridors of procedural purdah, and we need to emerge.
Sorry, say in order. Video link. Drew Hendry. Order. Try it again, Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Hopefully you've got me now, yes? Hello? Can you hear me now, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Of course, Lord's Amendment 1B covers one of the most glaring